Hello Internet, so nice to see you. Today we talk about the augmented scales. Now there seems to be some confusion on which one is the augmented scale because in the years at least two different scales have been called the augmented scales, and those two scales are different. And this is where I typically get comments like Tommaso, I've always called augmented the first scale you show and I never heard about the second scale, or that the second scale is called the supercataphractic scale or something like that. Well, tell you what, I don't really care about names, I care about the wonderful sounds of those scales. Also, some people will call one of the scale the hexatonic scale, which means that that's the scale with 6 notes, but both scales have 6 notes, so both scales can be called hexatonic. And other people will call one of the scale the symmetrical scale, but tell you what, both of those scales are symmetrical too, so I cannot call one the symmetrical scale and the other the non-symmetrical scale. So now that we know that different people call those scales in different ways, let's see them. The first scale is the scale you get when you have 6 notes and they are all spaced apart a whole step one from each other. So you have C, D, E, F sharp, G sharp, A sharp. Some people call this scale the whole tone scale. Now this scale can be seen as made of two augmented chords a whole step apart. The first chord is C augmented, C, E, G sharp, and the other is D augmented, D, F sharp, A sharp. If you see what kind of chords we can write on the scale, we see that, for instance, on the C note, I can play a C augmented chord, but also a C7 sharp 5, made by the notes C, E, G sharp, B flat, which is the same as A sharp, or a C7 flat 5, made by the notes C, E, E flat, B flat, or a C9 sharp 5, which is C, E, G sharp, B flat, D, or a C9 flat 5, which is C, E, G flat, B flat, D. All those chords can be built on any of those notes, so you also have the augmented D7 sharp 5, D7 flat 5, D9 sharp 5, and D9 flat 5, and the same for all the other notes in the scale. The scale is completely symmetrical, every note is exactly the same, and in fact there is no root in this scale. Any one of those notes can work at the root, or if you prefer, all the modes of those notes are all the same. You probably heard this scale already in movies, whenever they want to give a comedic feeling like people falling down the stairs or people being not particularly coordinated in their movement, they use this kind of scale. One interesting use for this scale is for chord substitution. Let's say you have a fairly standard chord progression in C minor, like D minor 7 flat 5, G7 sharp 5, C minor 9. This G7 sharp 5 comes from this G whole tone scale, and the flavor of the whole tone scale is so strong in this chord that in fact you can substitute any other chord coming from this scale and it will still work. So for instance, I can play D minor 7 flat 5, F7 sharp 5, C minor 9. Or the same with an E flat 7 sharp 5. Or the same with a D flat 7 sharp 5. Or the same with a B7 sharp 5. Or the same with an A7 sharp 5. All those options sounds great to me, and you can have your favorite too. It's a good exercise to try to replicate what I just did and adjust the voicing of the chords before and after the dominant chord so that it sounds good. The second augmented scale that we cover today is made by the note C, D sharp, E, G, G sharp, and B. This again is made by two augmented chords, but this time the two augmented chords are a minor third apart. The first augmented chord is a C augmented, C, E, G sharp, and the second is the D sharp augmented, D sharp, G, B. If we look at the chords in this scale, you see that on the C note I can build a C major 7, C, E, G, B, or a C minor major 7, C, E flat, G, B, or a C augmented with a major 7, C, E, G sharp, B. On the D sharp note I don't have this variety, I only have a D sharp augmented. On the E note, I have the same kind of chords I have on the C note, and on the G sharp note, I have the same kind of chords I have on the C note. So this scale contains a lot of major and minor triads. It contains C major, C minor, E major, G sharp major, and G sharp minor. So in a sense, this scale is a gateway between different keys, a major third apart. Inspired by this scale, I can play chord progression like C major 7, G sharp major 7, E major 7, C major 7. Or C minor, G sharp minor, E minor, C minor. And you can improvise over both those chord progressions by using the C augmented scale. A particularly interesting situation happens if you play the same kind of chord progression using minor major 7 chords. So if you play C minor major 7, G sharp minor major 7, E minor major 7. What happens is this. As you notice, the only difference is the base of those chords, but the upper structure, the three top notes, are exactly the same. And those three top notes are E flat, G, B, and they form the E flat augmented triad. And indeed, C minor major 7 is simply an E flat augmented triad with a base of C. G sharp minor major 7 is an E flat augmented triad with a base of G sharp. And E minor major 7 is simply an E flat augmented triad with a base of E. I find this really interesting, and it's very inspirational to create interesting soundscapes. Now there would be much more to say about chord progressions and chord substitution inspired by those two scales. But for that, I refer you to my complete chord mastery course, which is a complete video course about chords and harmony on guitar. I could stay here for a long time talking about it, but the best thing is that you click on the link and go and see for yourself. So which one of those two scales you call the augmented scale and what name you give to the other scale? Please write this down in the comment, I want to know. And if you like this video, don't forget to smash on that like button and click on subscribe. And please do share this video with your friends, let them know, and I really appreciate any kind of support you give to this channel. It really means a lot to me. This is Tommaso Zilli of musictheoryforguitar.com, and until next time, enjoy!